my cloud server, so sit tight. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Everybody, thanks for joining us. My name's Erik Hatch of Hatch Realty and Hatch Coaching, based out of Fargo, North Dakota. And we are doing our best to bring awesome webinars and information to people just like you all the time. And today we're talking about adding additional revenue streams to your business. There's a reason you signed up for this, or there's a reason you clicked on this, and that is you're maybe looking to grow some passive, and it's not just passive, but to grow some extra legs to your stool, and a way to figure out how you can take this real estate game and really add to it. I'll give you a walkthrough. I want to run down kind of how I got here and what this looks like. I got into real estate full-time in 2011. I was doing so part-time for a couple of years. And in 2011, I jumped in full-time. So it's been almost 10 years that I've been doing this now. I have the privilege of leading one of the top 50 real estate teams in the country. Hatch Realty is our company, and we have been on fire lately. Last year, we sold 636 homes, and we're pacing for almost 800 homes this year. It's been a really great growth year for us. And on top of that, I'll say this, some of the advertising that I use and some of the wording that I put is that I had made more money last year on my side hustles on these extra businesses than I did in my primary business. And that is actually 100% the truth. Last year, Hatch Realty didn't have an obscenely profitable year. It made money, it made good money, but it wasn't where it needed to be because we had a down year. And so we've actually tightened up expenses, and we've now increased our sales pretty exponentially. And so we're gonna have a really, really robust year. And yet I can still say that I think I'll make more from my side hustles than I will from my main hustle. And a real estate team at the volume that we're doing, I think you should be making anywhere from 10 to 20% for profit. So if you're a $5 million team, you should be making between $500,000 and $1 million. And then on top of that, you should be making a CEO pay as well. You should be making that. And so think about the math and how that adds up, because we were about a $4.3 million team last year, and we're going to look to be about a $6 million team this year. And I don't know what your profit margins are, and I don't want to speak to that because that's not the topic of today. But I want you to know that there is so much opportunity out there, and we've really jumped on this bandwagon early on to figure out ancillary businesses. I now, as of today, own 25 different businesses, almost all real estate related. I have one odd duck. In the building I'm in right now, I'm in a building in downtown Fargo that I own with a couple of friends. And in the basement, we have a hidden speakeasy. So that's like the one thing I have as a one-off. So with that, I'm going to walk you through today what this looks like of how to grow these extra businesses. I'm going to show you margins and things that you can do and should do. This is easier than you think. It's just going to take you to take some action and not just sit idly by. Those of you watching live, please ask some questions. Let this be a conversation and not just a presentation. So in the chat box, go ahead and ask those, and I'm going to try to get to everything. When we're done with this, I want to send you an email, and that email will have a call to action of some things that you can maybe do. If something tickled your fancy and you said that's the route that you want to go down. So with that, I'm going to share my screen here. Give me just a moment to get that jumping over. There's my share screen. That's the one. Oh, that's the one right there. Okay, got it. So here we go. Let me go to present. Okay, we're going to add some additional revenue streams to our business with, of course, Erik Hatch, this beautiful mug you get to look at for the next 45 minutes or so. I want to make sure that as you're looking to do this, and as we're talking about money and numbers, you pay yourself properly. It is really important that you pay yourself better and in a more concise way than you have done previously. So there's 3 buckets, and the first is to pay yourself as a CEO. If you're going to pay yourself as a CEO, I think you need to know and understand that if you're doing, I'd say 100 deals a year or less, you're probably not working on the business full time. If you're doing over 100 deals or over 200 or 300 deals as a team, you're going to need to start paying yourself more intentionally. If bucks, but if you want to have true real numbers, you're going to have to pay yourself accordingly. Full transparency is for Hatch Realty, I pay myself $100,000 a year to be the CEO. and I only work in it 2 days a week. I spend my other 3 days coaching and working on my other businesses. So 2 days a week has constituted for me a $100,000 a year salary. Now, there's a lot of mind time and a lot of risk that goes into that, but you need to be paying yourself as a CEO. The second thing here is you need to pay yourself as a realtor in production, the same split that you would pay somebody on your team. So if your buyer agents make a 50-50 split, you literally should open up a separate checking account that is Joe Blow Realtor account. And every time you sell a house, if it's a buy, you get 50% and your company gets 50%. And in addition to that, if it's a listing, maybe it's 30-70, whatever the split is, where you're taking your 30% and putting that in a separate production bucket. Because most people are actually fueling their teams and making their profit off your own production. And you don't know the true health and vitality of your company. So make sure you do this. Make sure you literally, when you're done with this, go set up a separate account and pay yourself the same splits you're paying somebody on your team, so you know what your company can actually afford when you're making decisions. The final piece is, of course, after number 1 and number 2 are paid out, you have your overall company profit. And my recommendation, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book says 40% profit. I think that's almost impossible to reach. I recommend, and it all depends on your cost of goods sold and the percentage that you're going to pay people, but I think you should be paying about 40%, depending on the leverage you give. But I think your cost of goods sold, the commissions you're paying, should average about 40%. Your expenses should be between 30 and 40%, meaning your profit after all these aforementioned things should be 20 to 30%. And I bring that up because if we're going to grow some other businesses, it only makes sense if your business is healthy. The only way I would give you permission and encouragement to go and open up that next side hustle piece is if you are currently running a healthy business model, because these things as additions will distract and will take away. So make sure that you're not chasing after a new dime when you're not making a dime on the current thing that you're doing. If you have questions, again, if you have comments, throw them into the chat box so we make this a conversation and not just a presentation. Let's get after it. The first way, the easiest way, the best way, and something that you and all your team members should be doing is to invest in real estate. It was 2012 when I bought my first rental property. I bought a place with 2 buddies because I was scared to death of doing that on my own. We found a place for $90,000. It was a foreclosed property. And so we each needed to put in, I think it was $12,000. We put down 30% on the property. And then we had a little bit invested in fixing and flipping. That was 9 years ago. Fast forward to today, I think I owe $35,000 on that entire property. We're renting it out for $1,400 a month. And it is, I don't need a college fund for my kids, you know? Investing in real estate is a no-brainer for realtors. And I want to show you the numbers that I use when I teach my team how to do this. So if you are taking notes, please jot this down. Otherwise, we will be sending out the slideshow if you're watching live. Let's talk about a 15-year mortgage. Usually when you're buying with a 15 or a 20-year mortgage if you're using in-house financing, which I certainly recommend for this. It's a little higher of an interest rate, but I think the rules are you can only have like a second property in your portfolio. So you have your primary residence and then like a second property, but you can't scale beyond that. So let's say you're buying a house with a 15-year mortgage. It's a $130,000 home that you decide on. The way I say, is this going to be a good win for us, is this rule of 1%. The rule of 1% says, can you charge 1% of the purchase price? And if you can, then you should be dealing with a very nice cash flowing property, that rule of 1%. Yes, there are all these different rates and things that you can try to figure out. You can try to figure out your cap rate and annualized returns and that sort. That rule of 1% dumbs it down for somebody like me. And I know that I can go and invest that 1% and do so exceedingly well. And I know that that will work to my benefit. I've done this now 60 times over the last 9 years. I have 60 properties in my portfolio, and they sometimes cost a lot of money. You need to know and understand that there's a lot of risk involved in this, but it can also make you a ton of money. Put down 25 to 30%. In this example, I put 25% down, and so that means that's $32,500. Factor in some closing costs and other things, and you're probably at 35 grand. And if you don't want to do all that cash out of pocket, if you don't have that kind of liquidity, find some partners. And might I challenge you that your partners shouldn't be people that you work with directly. Because what happens if they're gone tomorrow and you own a property with them? I own a 10-plex with a former team member, and I say former because he's not on my team anymore. And that's really an awkward and interesting situation, is that we're now still business partners in one thing, but not in another. And so I don't recommend investing with current team members. It's not bad in my world right now, but it's also something I'd like to avoid if possible. Okay, let's jump back. I'm jumping back and forth. Hope you're not getting dizzy here. Roughly $1,000 a month is what your payment is going to be with taxes and insurance. There's also property management that you can choose to do on your own. I don't recommend it. I think hiring somebody for 7 to 10% is money really well spent. But you're going to profit 3 ways on this. The first is $1,300 payments a month that you're collecting. You have $1,000 in expenses, so that means you're profiting $300 a month. That's $3,600 a year. Of course, I know and understand that there's going to be maintenance, there's going to be upkeep, there's going to be all these things that will cost you a lot of money. Sometimes the getting's good and other times it's not. For this example's sake, $300,000 in gross profit monthly before any expenses for upkeep. Now, a property appreciates on average 4% annually. The historic times in the last 100 years of real estate has 4.22% as that profit margin, as that appreciation margin on properties. Now, that may change. COVID and other societal impacts will adjust how well that property appreciates. But for this example, 4% is what appreciates the best. And I've used my strategy. I've invested in single family homes and had my best luck there. I've had my hardest luck with duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, sixplexes, 10plexes, that sort. I own them and I'm making some money off of them, but not like I am on my single families. It's actually a real interesting strategy, because if all hell breaks loose, you have still a sellable product. But look at that. It'll appreciate year 1, $5,200. Year 2 is even more than that. And a property will double in value every 20 to 25 years. So if you think about that, your ability to make some serious cash and use this as a savings account is pretty huge. Number 3 is you pay down your mortgage. Of course, it depends on where you are in the amortization schedule, but you're going to be paying anywhere from $200 to $700 a month on the principal off of it. So look at that. After 15 years, you're going to own the house outright. That $130,000 house will be worth nearly $250,000. I just took that 4% appreciation and I did that over 15 years. Your monthly rent should have increased to around $2,000 a month. So you own an asset free and clear at $250,000. Free and clear. Your $32,500 investment turned into $250,000 in 15 years. Then you're collecting rent of nearly $2,000 a month. And I think that's about a $20,000 a year net when it's all said and done. So let's say you own that house for 20 years. You add another $100,000 in value plus the appreciation. You're now looking at an obscene amount of money just from investing. In the chat bar right now, I want you to put, if you are investing in real estate, how many properties do you currently own? I want to see just where some people are at. If you are investing in real estate, put it in the chat box. How many do you currently own? Because this has been a no-brainer for me. When I factor my actual net worth, I'm able to look at an original $30,000 investment and I watch it just multiply on the nth degree. Really huge opportunities. So again, if you are investing in real estate, put it in the chat box. I want to know who out there is investing right now. But we're going to move on. I'm going to show you the next angle and opportunity here for you to continue to find other revenue streams. Next up, let's talk about wholesaling. I love wholesaling, and I'm going to, in fact, get off this screen share because I want you to see the beautiful eyes that I have. Brandon, 143 properties. Dang, dude. That's insane. We started something called a snap offer program 2 years ago, and it's essentially the iBuyer movement. It's buying properties directly from sellers, and then you can do a couple of things with them. And I'll tell you this, the wholesale opportunity that we find ourselves having now, wholesale is basically taking a property and selling it direct to somebody else. And think of yourself differently than as a realtor. Think of yourself as somebody who is jumping on opportunities to not treat it as a real estate transaction, but to treat it, well, I mean, you treat it as a real estate transaction, but you're not wearing a realtor hat. You're wearing an investor hat as the wholesaler. In ours, I've purchased about 45 properties in the last 2 years directly from people, and I've wholesaled now a lot of them. That means I've actually never had to have any money invested. I simply assign the contract to somebody else. So let's say there's a $200,000 house. We've identified, and the sellers want to get out, and they want to get out quick. They have pain and agony and frustration, maybe failing medical issues. They need to get out quick. They want their property off their hands, lots of fixes and that sort. That $200,000 property, I'm going to probably give them an offer of $140,000, 70 cents on the dollar. If they don't like my offer, I'm the first wholesale offer. And if I buy that, I know I can fix and flip it, or I can keep it as a rental, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But what we're doing with this is we're taking all of this momentum, and if they say no, they're going to say, you know, I got to get 155 or I can't do it. I just can't. I can't do it. And I'm like, okay, 155. I know there's some meat on the bone there for a buyer. I know your property currently is worth 200,000, but you want to sell quick. You don't want to deal with any of the stress and uncertainty of this. And so I'm going to take your property. I'm going to write a contract on it, but I'm not going to be the one to buy it. And I'm going to go and try to shop your contract for the next 30 days to see if I can get somebody who's willing to pay your price plus my wholesaling fees on top of that. And we can get you out. They're just going to come through on the inspection, see the house for the first time, and they're not going to nickel and dime you on anything. You get to pick the closing date. They're a cash buyer, and they'll close as fast or as long as you need them to. And we've started to do this now, and my gosh, we're finding opportunity. Because I'll take that $140,000 offer that they said no to. They say they need 155, but I know I can go sell that for 180. Because I have an investor who's been salivating at an opportunity like this, and he'll pay 180 for this all day long. So now I just assigned that contract, which is perfectly legal to do unless it says in there you can't assign it. I now made $25,000 having never purchased the property, having never facilitated the transaction outside of some paperwork, and having risked nothing outside of my marketing expenses and a little bit of time. In the last 6 months, I've wholesaled 5 properties, and we've charged a $15,000 wholesaling fee at minimum. And then on top of that, we've taken some extra meat when there's been more margin there that we could raise the price. And I've made $130,000 in 5 or 6 months without ever spending a dime. Do I have your attention yet? Because wholesaling is an unbelievable opportunity for you to lower your risk and to take the nickel instead of chasing the dime. So here's again what we want to do. We want to identify the sellers that want to sell without a hassle. You then need to identify buyers that want to pay cash. You need to have a list of buyers. It's not just having a list of sellers, it's having a list of buyers as well. And they're going to do one of 3 things. They're going to fix and flip. They're going to do the long-term hold, probably use the BRRRR method, or they're going to own it themselves and live there. So identifying who those people are in your database is really important. We, in fact, opened another company called Midwest Invest. You can go to midwestinvest.com right now and see what we're doing with that. It's our front-facing to buyers website, and you can see how we're chasing after those buyers, because we have to chase after buyers and sellers with this strategy. And then we charge a wholesale fee. Okay, big breath there. I'm going to jump to this. There was a question from Jordan. Jordan said he's getting started and under contract on his first deal. His plan was to flip because of huge margins. How do you decide to flip or rent? I'm going to get to that, Jordan, and I'm going to get to that right now because I actually have stopped purchasing rental properties and I've pursued going after flips because I think, remember, I'll go back a couple of slides and share with you that after 15 years, I can turn my $32,000 into about $250,000. That's an awesome, awesome return. And then that's going to continue to quantify itself. But I want to show you with flips on how I think there's really, really advantageous money if you choose to do this. We use our snap offer method. It's as easy as you see on the screen here. 3, contact us. 2, we're going to do an on-site valuation of your property. And 1 is within a couple of days, you're going to get 2 prices. Your go-to-market price if you were to list traditionally, and there's a lot of pain that's associated with that, a lot of interruptions, a lot of chaos, and we don't know for certain if your property is going to sell. We're gonna gamble right there with you. Or, sorry, it's not or, it's and we're gonna get you an investor offer. This investor offer has some margin built in there because they're gonna have to turn it for a profit, but you choose the terms, they choose the price. And if you need ease and convenience right now, that may be the right choice for you. And we find out that people that actually ask for a snap offer accept it 20 to 25% of the time. 20 to 25% of the time we list one of those properties too. So if we do this, I want to show you some very simple math here. Let's say I go on 5 snap offer appointments and my team goes on them. I'm not going on them, but I'll at least speak in this sort of first person language. I go on 5 appointments. One of them sells to me. I'm able to buy that property. One of them lists with me, and the other 3 sit in what I affectionately call snap offer purgatory. This is a place and a space where they don't know what they're going to do yet. That's when we entertain the wholesale offer, and maybe that'll take down one of these. And then these last 2 are long-term listing leads or long-term snap offer leads. And so to have a strategy to stay in front of them is going to be a really important piece as you do this. But I want to share with you the real numbers of fix and flip. I think you should purchase around 70 cents on the dollar minus the repairs. So if there's 10 grand in repairs that are needed as well, probably put on like 15 grand to cover that, and then the 70 cents on the dollar. After you purchase it, you can do one of 3 things. This is to Jordan's question. What do you do with it? You can wholesale the property. Remember, wholesale is you never buy it. Wholesale is you buy it, but you don't do anything. You just put it back on the market. I wholesale 15% of my deals or so. Number 2 is you keep it as a rental, and you need to know your rental numbers to see how that is going to cash flow for you. And the third option, C, is fix and flip. Fix and flip is an exciting opportunity because it's like you're your own HGTV. What they don't tell you is that you're usually over budget, underwhelmed with the experience, and there's just a whole lot of craps that you find. Now, the expected profit though from a flip, and my margin is between 10 and 12%, but I used to be lower than that, and I'm getting better every time. I think that in 120 days from the time in which you buy it until the time in which you have money in your hand from selling it, that means about a 30-day flip period, a 30-day sale period, and a 60-day pended period. All those may blend together a little bit, but I think you should be able to get your money out in 120 days. If you start with $10,000, and 10,000 bucks is a lot of money, right? If you start with $10,000 and you put it into these flips, and you can get a 12% return on your investments 3 times in a year, because there's 365 days in a year, and if you can do that 1, 2, and 3 times, 3 flips with an original investment of $10,000, that $10,000 in 15 years will have quantifiably turned itself into $1 million. $1 million. Now, I started my fix and flips with $300,000. And if that math holds true, in 15 years, I'll have turned $300,000 into $30 million. That is ungodly amounts of money. And with the right strategies of adding the right legs, I think that you can get there too. So that's why, Jordan, that's why I like fix and flips right now better. And in fact, I like wholesales even more than fix and flips, to be totally transparent with you. I think that there's really big opportunity. Now, moving on, mortgage is another really, really sexy opportunity. And I'm going to jump off this because I want your eyes on my eyeballs and not just reading on the screen. I opened up mortgage. I partnered with a guy named Chris Tam. Chris was one of the founders and creators of FirePoint. He has Cast Services now that does a lot of great digital and website stuff. And Chris is a good buddy of mine. And I jumped on board with a company called Ownership Mortgage that he owns and partners with. We opened up our own mortgage company because, frankly, we were sending a lot of deals to other mortgage places. We wanted to give a high level of service and quality control to those people that come into our ecosystem. It was a really easy handoff for our ISAs to have an actual team member of mine as a part of that world. And so our agents use them from time to time. Our ISAs introduce them all the time. And we're able to support with the business that we're doing, one, if not two loan officers. Here's what I had to do. I paid $7,500 to get basically half ownership in my franchise of ownership mortgage, $7,500. It's a super low entry point. I then had to, because I'm in North Dakota and ownership mortgage is based out of Colorado, I had to find a loan officer that we wanted to have in our ecosystem. I asked my team who's somebody that's great. They referred me to Nick. Nick signed up because he saw the advantage of being in our world as well. Nick was doing 60 or 70 mortgages a year with a local bank, and he's going to do, I don't know, probably about 100 this year with us. It averages 4 to 10 a month is really where it's going right now. Here is the benefit. Number one is massive service to your clients. Number two, it's quality control. Number three, it's not chasing after co-marketing dollars. It's not doing an MSA that a lot of things are frowned upon because you now own it. The only thing is you have to disclose that you're an owner of it every time, but I think that the future of real estate, this is a little sidebar, but it's important. The future of real estate is a hub, meaning that people are going to come to you because you are a marketing and servicing company. You have to be able to say, yes, I can service you in mortgage and title and insurance and property management and construction and all these different things. You have to be able to say with confidence that they can come to you and achieve all of that. If you don't believe me that that's the future, that's what Zillow is doing right now. Zillow does the iBuyer stuff. Zillow offers mortgages. Zillow offers property management because they want to capture one eyeball or two eyeballs, and they want to keep that person in their ecosystem so they can get a little bit from that one purchased piece of business. And you need to start thinking of your business in that sort of way as well, is that you have to become this new center, this new hub of opportunity that services all of these different areas. So with that, I want to show you mortgage because I'm really excited about this. $7,500 buy-in one time from ownership mortgage. You get a 50-50 split on the rip that they take on the net profit, and they fully disclose all the money that they make. They have all the servicing in Colorado. They have the underwriters. They have all of that taken care of. And in fact, if you don't have an LO in your office or you're not big enough to do that, you can still work with their people out of Colorado. If you don't think it works, tell that to Quicken Loans. Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage and all those other places don't meet with anybody face-to-face, and they run really big businesses online. Ownership mortgage can be online or in person. That's totally up to you. Now, what you actually end up making is 0.6 to 0.8% profit. And that changes. Some of them are going to be at a 1%. Some of them are going to be at a 0%. It averages about 0.6 to 0.8%. So on a $200,000 loan, you can expect to average between $1,200 and $1,600 a deal. If you're sending 5 deals a month to one mortgage officer, you think you can get 5 deals a month, you're looking at $6,000 to $8,000 in profit for you each month. On top of quality control, on top of being able to service all those people, on top of gaining more data from people. There's so many arguments as to why you should do this. And I'll tell you this, ownership mortgage has been a really great game changer for us. I have ultimate trust in what they're doing and how they're doing it. And we are going to see our counter, our ticker go up and up and up for our ability to serve our people. I'm so excited for that because I know that if I'm getting 10 deals a month to them, and I'm making a passive $150,000 to $250,000 a year. It's weird to say passive and then you talk about 6 figures. There's big opportunity out there. And I think that if you're interested in mortgage, I'll have some information in the email that we send out to you. I just want you to say, I'm interested in mortgage. In fact, you can even put it in here in the chat box. You can send me an email, Erik, that's ERIK, @hatchrealty.com. Say I'm interested in mortgage, and I'm going to get you connected so we can at least get you the information and you know what you're deciding on. With that, take a look as well. If it's going to be a refi, and there's huge opportunities with refi right now, bigger than you ever imagined. If refi is going to be a thing, it's about 2/3 of the aforementioned profit per deal. So you're looking at a 4.5 to a 6% profit, 0.6 profit margin on that. So something to consider. Closing and title. I know of some people who are doing closing. Jeff, thanks for speaking up on that, by the way. Interested in mortgage, I'll make sure to add that to my list and reach out to you. Next up is closing and title. So we've talked about investing in real estate with you as a buyer. We've talked about fix and flips. We've talked about wholesale. We've talked about mortgage. Now we're talking about title. I live in North Dakota, and North Dakota is an abstract state, meaning there's not a lot of money in our closings because the money comes from title insurance. Unless you own an abstracting company, then you make some good money on actual abstracts, but that is a beast I don't know much about, to be honest with you. If you are in a state where title insurance is costing between $1,000 and $2,000, those that own the title companies make huge rips on those. I know some people that are making a passive $200,000 to $400,000 a year from having ownership in title. I can't tell you who to talk to, but it is worth researching. I know some people, and really you can reach out to me and I can make some introductions. I don't have my clause in that, so I don't have that personal introduction, but I do have my clause in mortgage and in SNAP, so I can help you with that. I'm not going to beat that horse much longer on closing and title, but I do think it's something you should have control over if the numbers make sense. Next up, coaching. Guess what? I'm a coach. It says here in the corner, it says Hatch Coaching when I talk, right? I want to share with you that there is lucrative opportunities with coaching, and I'm not afraid of other coaches out there. I think that there's enough pie to go around. If you come in as a coach, you're going to be different than me. You're not a threat to me, and I'm hopefully not a threat to you. But I want you to know that there's some cool opportunity with coaching. It is exchanging your time for money. As I'm doing this right now, this is totally for free. I do free stuff more than I do get paid stuff because it takes a lot of work, a lot of webinars, a lot of Facebook posting, a lot of side conversations that you give away for free in order to get somebody to actually commit to you. I gave away stuff for free and still continue to give stuff away for free intentionally, probably 10 to 20 times a day between conversations and posts and texts and that sort, just to try to pick up one of those 20 people. It's a lot of work, but man, it's so much fun. When you do coach, you get a higher dollar per hour rate. I started off as a coach and I got paid $300 an hour. And I thought that was unbelievable money. And $300 an hour is a ton of money. I had to do a lot of work to get to that 300. And now my hourly rate is far past that. So it's really a cool way to make some cash. Know that the bigger you grow and the less that people are close to you, turnover happens. It's just inevitable that the potency gets a little more diluted and it's harder to retain people. And so it is a constant chase. Once somebody leaves you, it's near impossible for them to actually come back. You can add other people in your ecosystem and you can add other coaching clients. And if you choose to do so, and you're going to add other coaching clients, other coaches to your world, you need to make sure that they are really well trained. It's like adding a buyer agent in your world. If you're going to add a buyer agent, I would be shocked if you could just hire them and throw them to the wolves and expect them to succeed. It takes a lot more curating and it takes a lot more intention. So please make sure that if you do go down this coaching route, you start with you as the coach and you do it exceptionally well before you ever jump in and add other people, because it just dilutes and it is irresponsible. Okay, we are almost to the end. Keep throwing questions and comments out there. I want to get to everything that people have on their minds. Let's jump to Airbnb and VRBO. Oh, I love this. I shifted a few of my rentals. I have a 10-plex right by our college campus in town that I had a really hard time keeping filled. 10 units, I had a 60% vacancy rate, bleeding cash on it. And I said, I got to do something to get better on this. And so I personally rented out 5 of the units. I discounted myself because I own the building, so I can do that, but I discounted myself. And I said, okay, I'm going to turn these into Airbnbs. And I had to buy beds and fridges and TVs and bedding and towels and toiletries and all these things for each unit. And then I started renting them out, and it took a few months and it just didn't fill and it didn't fill. And now all of a sudden it's hit. And I have almost 100% occupancy with one building. I have 5 units in there, 100% occupancy on 5 units. And I'm making a couple $1,000s extra just on that a month. See, if you collect, let's go back to that investment property that we talked about. If you collect $1,300 a month in rent, and your mortgage is $1,000, you have a profit of $300 a month. Cool opportunity. But I bet that 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house that you're renting up for $1,300 on Airbnb is $100 a day. And if you can get to occupancy of 60 or 70%, you're now looking at $2,000 a month that you're bringing in. And if you're running your own Airbnb stuff, like it's time consuming and you're constantly in maintenance mode. Again, it's why I choose to pay that 25 to 40% fee to somebody else to do that work for me. I just know that there's more money that can be made with Airbnb than there is with rentals. It's just more of a gamble. A great example is in downtown Fargo. I have a buddy that owns a really nice high-end condo. It's about a $450,000 or $500,000 condo. When he Airbnbs it out, when he goes away to the lakes for the weekend or whatever else, he charges $400 a night. And at $400 a night, he only has to have it filled for 4 nights or 5 nights a month in order to pay for his entire mortgage. So you can do that with your personal property too, and you can do that with a lot of really cool things. Tiffany is late to the party, jumping into the chat here. Tiffany's late to the party, and absolutely positively, we will be sending you out a recording of this, but good to have you with us. And Jeff says he's interested in mortgage and title. They make profit of close to $1,000 per transaction. Yeah, you are 100% right. And Jeff, I'll make a connection with that for you. I'll make some introductions to see if I can get somebody in front of you. Okay, let's jump back to it. A couple other things before we wrap here. Next up, other opportunities. This is a hit list of a sort, and this could be random, but I'm doing a lot of these right now. I'd add number 7 here, staging as well. I think that you could do some staging, not just as a thing that you're doing for your clients, but you could, because if you just do it for your clients, you can't charge for it. You can either charge a higher commission or have them pay a fee for it. And guess what? The property sells faster and you look like more of a hero too. So I'd add staging to this list also, but it popped into my mind just as I hit record on this. So go figure. Let's talk first about marketing. I had a marketing company that we were building up for a number of years. Hatch Realty's marketing company went from 1 person to 2, and then we had 4 people that were our marketing department. And I had a guy that was amazing talent, and I knew that he was going to go and start his own thing. And I simply said, hey, let's start something together. And so the company's called a BOVO, ABOVO, and I opened up with him 4 years ago, a marketing company. Well, guess what? They still serviced us with Hatch Realty and did our stuff. And then we went and made profit on other people and built a company. And now it employs 6 or 7 people and is doing some really cool things, from making commercials with Carson Wentz to working with a Fortune 5 company. So we get a chance to grow some extra things. And I didn't say the word no when somebody in my world wanted to grow. I said yes when. And that's a really important takeaway for you right now. I would, if you're taking notes, write down, don't say no, say yes when. Because the bigger our worlds get, the bigger our ecosystem can become for other people to build businesses under our umbrella. And so it's a really, really huge opportunity for you. Next up is closing gifts. We actually opened up a closing gifts company. If you go to closinggifts.com, you'll see what we're doing, giving these cool little metal state signs that say the word home. So if you live in Minnesota, you have a really cool shaped thing. If you live in Nevada, it's just like a box. But Minnesota is a much more well-designed state in terms of shape. And so you can go to closinggifts.com and give those closing gifts, because we were giving closing gifts, so I may as well start profiting on it and charging my team members. Also, I had somebody come to me, a buddy who owns a moving company, and he said, hey, I'm wondering if I can start advertising in your world. I wonder if you can help me grow. And then, you know, for every one that we get, we'll pay you like 10 or 20%. I'm like, okay, yeah, referral would be cool. But I'm like, why don't you just let me own some of the company and I'll grow it with you? Because I'm a builder, I'm an entrepreneur, and he's not. He's a guy that works really hard, and you know, his moving company is his side job. And so he gave me 20% of his company because I just asked. I said, well, we're going to be giving referrals for movers all the time. Why wouldn't I just start making some money on that? Again, what companies are you relying on regularly, and how can you start profiting in other ways from that? Contracting is a big way to do that. Construction, contracting, handyman services. The bigger you get, and if you want to be that company that offers all these different avenues, contracting is on my to-do list for 2020. I'm running out of days, I recognize, and so it may end up in 2021, but contracting and property management, we're just paying out a lot of money to a lot of people on that. And property management money is not easy, by the way. If you do it, do not put your personal name or your company name on it. It needs to be totally separate. But I have a buddy down in New Mexico. His name is Brian. And Brian runs a real estate team. They do about 400 transactions a year, massively profitable, massively successful. And then Brian has property management. And I think he's between 700 and 1,000 doors now. And passively, he's making over $100,000 a month with property management. That's a lot of money, dudes. And property management can grow to be something huge for you if you jump into it. And then finally, insurance. I want to plant a seed for you, but insurance is an interesting take. You can make a lot of money on insurance. Insurance agents don't make big money in year one, but they grade on people as they add more auto and home and life insurance things. It really and up. The numbers that were shared, just a windfall of money that will be a favorite thing is on earth. MRR. Month is earned from MRR. It's mailbox money. It's that money that is that recurring revenue that keeps coming back to you. And as you're looking to build these other revenue streams, that for us has been a big pivot with Hatch Coaching. That for us is a constant conversation with Hatch Realty, is we're trying to say, where can we go and make more regular recurring revenue from people? And the easy places are things like insurance. The easy places are things that are constant services for people. See, making 10 bucks a day from 100 people is a lot more cash than making $10,000 from 5 people. Well, if you do that math, you're like, yeah, that doesn't work out in a year, but what happens in year 2, and year 3, and year 4? So think about how you're going to grow this. I'm done here in just a minute. So if you have questions, now is the time to question. If you have interest in in mortgage or in title or anything else, shoot me a message because I want to get that information to you. I want to answer any questions that you have, but otherwise, do something. Buy a rental property, buy 20 rental properties, start doing the Snap Offer platform. There's no reason you shouldn't be doing that because it is a no-brainer to offer choices to your sellers. My Snap Offer platform of me flipping houses and doing wholesaling, I'll make close to $500,000 this year doing that. 10 years ago, I was making $40,000 a year annually. And now from a passive income piece, I'll make that a month. This is real money. These are real opportunities, and they're waiting for you if you have the guts to take the leap. But again, please don't do so until you make sure your foundation is right, that your numbers are right that I alluded to at the beginning of this conversation. So, final call, questions, comments, takeaways, ahas. What is something you're going to leave with? That is your call to action. Put it in the chat box here. And as I do so, I want to plant a seed with you all. And some of you have already signed up, but we are doing in Fargo in September, we are doing our annual coaching summit. COVID has shut down a lot of things, and we think that, well, North Dakota is already like fully open, and we think that come September, it's going to be even more open. And so we're planning all systems go to do an unbelievable summit experience. If you're interested in that summit experience through the end of June, we have discounts on our website. So I want you to go and direct your attention to that so you can sign up. Jordan, who's on this call, this webinar, signed up 9 people from his team because he's serious about growing his world, and there's some big opportunity there. This is, I can say with confidence, the best real estate event of the year, not only because all the other ones were canceled, but even more so because we do something I think really different and really special to grow your world, both with leadership and with potential. So I will send all this to you in an email afterwards here. If you have questions or want to talk further, reach out to me. I want to be a resource to help your world grow. And with that, I think I'm all done. I don't see anybody else saying anything. So I'm about wrapped. If you have questions, again, throw them at me. But otherwise, God bless you. Have a beautiful day.